Again, I'm David Millington, the Director of Education at Next Level Purchasing Association, and we are going to be doing today's webinar, Microsoft Excel for Purchasing Professionals. I'm replacing Charles Dominic in this capacity, and I know those are very huge shoes to fill, and my objective is to give you an awesome learning experience. So today's webinar, again, it's Microsoft Excel for Purchasing Professionals, and I'm going to get my screen up on presentation mode. Just give me 1 second. Okay. So Excel is a very, as we know, it's a very powerful tool and a critical tool in the procurement professionals toolkit. And we see and we hear on a day-to-day basis the rise of various technologies that make data analytics, and we hear about big data and to be able to crunch huge data sets and make sense out of the information there and derive sensible patterns to make decisions will continue to be a trend as we go forward in time. The procurement professionals' role would not change as far as big data and the ability to derive very important analysis and from data sets would continue to be a very important skill. And this skill set may dominate many of the other skill sets that a procurement professional must have. As we know, the last 20 years or so, data has been increasing. The amount of available data has been increasing in exponential quantities. And to be able to, again, to derive patterns, to make better procurement and supply chain decisions will be very important in your roles going forward. Many organizations will look to the procurement department and the supply chain functions to enable the decision-making processes. So today we're going to cover some of the very important tools to enable us to derive sensible and impactful insights into data sets that are available in our day-to-day procurement functions. So one of the first tools or methodologies that I would like to go through is the should-cost model. And essentially, a should-cost model is a very powerful tool when we're about to negotiate with a supplier and or we're trying to extract the best price points for our organization to be able to do our due diligence and research as to where the price should be. Maybe a particular supplier has quoted us a price level, and we want to be able to let them know that we did our due diligence and the price points that particular supplier came in at is not robust enough and it doesn't meet our fiscal requirements. So what the should cost model does is it breaks the price down, a particular price point down into different segments. The raw materials or the inputs that go into making that product, the labor cost, the overhead cost, and the profit margins or whatever the industry standard for the profit margin should be. We'll be able to derive those quantities, and sometimes it will be assumptions, right? Because we're trying to sort of get intel and to throw. It's a good tactic to throw supplier off axis and to get them to divulge information about their pricing methodology. So, for example, if you do a due diligence, and I come from a extensive bakery and food manufacturing background, so some of the examples I would use, I would stay in that comfort zone. So, for example, to manufacture a muffin, let's say a particular supplier quoted me $1 as wholesale cost. So then I would do my due diligence and I would research what is the labor cost in the food industry, particularly bakeries. What's the average labor cost or percentage of the sales price? And let's say we come up with a figure, 25% labor cost or 25% labor cost or 25 cents on the dollar. And let's say the overhead is 15%, so that's 15 cents on the dollar. And let's say that the other costs are a certain amount. Let's say, so we had 25 and 15, that's 40%. So let's say the other costs are supposed to be about 30%. Now we have 70%. And let's say the acceptable margin in the bakery industry is 15%. So now we have 85% or 85 cents. If that particular supplier is quoting you $1, that means they're overcharging you. And I've done this extensively in the past where I put forth the model and they would say, I would tell them, well, this muffin should cost me about 80 to 85 cents. And they would say, oh, that's way off. So I'll show them the model. And I said, the key with the model is to challenge them and say, show me where I'm off. Show me where I'm wrong. Isn't labor supposed to be about 25% on the dollar? Isn't the acceptable profit margin supposed to be 15 cents on the dollar? According to this, you're making about 30% profit. So you're doubling your margin. So that's not acceptable. You need to be around 80 to 85 cents for me to close the deal. So the should cost models are very, very, very powerful negotiating tool to bring to the table and let your suppliers know where their pricing should be. And then we have the weighted average scorecard, which is a very, very, very powerful tool for selecting suppliers and to really understanding their capability. So what this does, it looks at a particular supplier A, B, or C, for example, in the critical requirements categories. In this case, price, lead time, quality, social responsibility could be another dimension that I actually scored suppliers on, or diversity. And the idea is to scorecard each supplier, to score them on a scale of 0 to 100. I prefer to use 1 to 10, and see where each supplier stacks up against another supplier or the other suppliers in line. So, for example, if supplier A scores 50% or 50 out of 100 on price point and scores 80 out of 100 on lead time and scores 100 across the board in quality, social responsibility, and diversity, then so if you add those scores up, that supplier would have scored 86%. And then if you have supplier B, who would have scored 80 out of 100 in price, 80 out of 100 in lead time, and 100 across the board on quality, social responsibility, and diversity, that particular supplier would have scored 92% or 92 out of 100. So in this case, according to those criteria, the criteria of price, lead time, quality, social responsibility, and diversity, in this case, supplier B would be a superior supplier. And I actually use the American scoring scale 90 to 100 is an A-class supplier. 80 to 80 to 89 would be a B class. And then from 70 to 79 would be an average or C-class supplier. And I would not use any C-class suppliers. I'll just drop them off the grid, and I'll just focus on A-class suppliers, B-class suppliers, preferably A-class suppliers, and collaborate with them and see how, I would help them to improve in those categories. If your suppliers are strong and you collaborate with them to improve, and you leverage their capabilities to help you improve, your organizations improve, then you have a win-win situation. But again, this weighted average supplier scorecard is a very, very great tool to scorecard your suppliers. Then we move on to functions. Our day-to-day transactions and job functions are becoming more and more demanding and stressful. So the better we're able to leverage some of the functionality in Excel to make us more efficient in our jobs, this would make us all the more better at what we do and efficient, and would actually, the more efficient we are in executing our job functions and our processes, the procurement processes, we would actually be reducing the total cost of ownership, because any delays in or mistakes or error in how we execute the procurement processes could impact in a negative way the total cost of ownership in terms of delayed shipments, errors. If you make errors in ordering the wrong quantities, this could be very, very impactful in terms of the total cost of ownership. So we have the sum function, which enables us to look at a whole array or column of values. Could be prices, for example, quantities, product quantities, and we will be able to tabulate at the bottom a huge column of values. You could do this very, very quickly and very efficiently, as opposed to the old days where we would use a calculator and a pen. And then we have the min function, and I'm going to pull up one of my spreadsheets, and we're going to go over some of these formulas in a minute. But I'm just going down the list of items that we're going to touch today. So the min function enables us to look at a huge data set and to be able to quickly extract and to pinpoint the minimum values. For example, we're looking for the lowest price point, or supply that comes in at the lowest price point in a huge array of columns and rows. And we could be able to quickly and efficiently pinpoint the lowest bid. And this could make our jobs and our lives a lot more efficient. Again, I'm going to display this on an Excel spreadsheet in a little bit. We also have the if function. There's an example here of where we could set the parameters in Excel, where, for example, if we have $15,000 to purchase a car, and a particular dealership comes up at 16,000. If you plug this into Excel, it will tell us no, we cannot afford that car. And if it comes in, certain bid comes in at less than $15,000, then Excel would flag us that yes, we could move forward and purchase this car. In terms of analytics and ease of visualization of our data, it's very, very, very important that we're able to to display our data by using charts. I had a professor years ago who her rule of thumb was chart your data, chart your data. Um, Especially if we have to chair meetings about how our procurement function is working, and our cost savings and our cost avoidance and our total cost of ownership analysis. And we have huge amount of cells and columns. It could be strenuous on the eyes, and I know for sure that from my experience that many executives they don't like to look at a lot of data. They just want something that's sharp. It's a snapshot view of what's happening in your process. So it's very important to, even in negotiation, to be able to have a snapshot, an overview of a huge amount of data sets. It's very important, and to be able to chart your data using different types of charts, whether it's a bar graph or Pareto chart or pie charts. It's a very, very, very important analytics tool, and we should leverage it. And we're going to move forward because of time. I'm going to skip something here. I'm going to go into pivot tables. Pivot tables allow us to quickly make derive analytics from huge data sets. Helps us to drag and drop. It's an awesome drag and drop tool which could help us to dissect and analyze patterns in data, and to formulate awesome reports quickly and efficiently. And we could also, from pivot tables, we could also use the charting function. So this enables us to crunch hundreds or thousands of cells quickly and efficiently without error. So the pivot table is probably one of the most critical tools that we have to be able to master and to practice on, and to be really efficient. It will make us as procurement professionals more efficient in our day-to-day functions. And one of my favorite tools is the goal seek. I don't know any procurement department or function that does not have set targets or set goals and objectives that must be met. And the goal seek function helps us to stay on track and to see if and when we're off target, and what we need to accomplish to realize those targets. And I'm going to switch over to my Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to do a little bit of playing around with some of these functions to get a better experience. Just bear with me 1 second. Let me pull up that sheet. And then we'll do some Q&A. My computer is a bit slow at the moment. Can anyone hear me? I see there's a message here, no sound. Oh, great. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we're going to go into quickly here the should course model from the slides. So here I have started a should course model for muffins. Okay, remember we spoke about muffins, right? So the way I would go about this is uh, we want to derive the cost to produce one muffin. Okay, and in most cases in the bakery environments, the production is done on a large scale with large scale recipes. So it could be a batch of each company does it differently. It could be a batch of 500 muffins. In this case, I use a batch of 1,000 muffins. Okay, so what I did here to prepare this should cost model is that I broke down the raw materials using the recipe or a bill of materials it could use. So here we have flour, sugar, butter, eggs. And this recipe to make 1,000 muffins calls for 100 pounds of flour, 20 pounds of sugar, 50 pounds of butter, and 20 pounds of eggs. Okay, so in this case, I would have done my due diligence if I'm to procure these muffins and find out what is the cost per pound of flour, the cost per pound of sugar, butter, and eggs. And here we see flour is 92 cents a pound, sugar is 2.50 a pound, butter is 4.75 a pound, eggs are 2.25 a pound. Okay, over here is the extension of the cost, right, of flour, the total cost of flour. So that 100 pounds of flour would cost $92. Okay, and in this column, it totals the cost of the entire recipe to make 1,000 muffins. Are you not seeing the? Okay. Could you see the screen now? Okay, awesome, Deborah. All right, so yes, so we're looking at the should cost model, okay, for muffins, right? We're right over here, okay? And here we see what I did was, right, when I've done this in the past, I would break down the raw materials cost, I would break down the labor cost, and the overhead, okay, and do my due diligence on what the industry standard for a particular industry is for a particular type of business, what the profit margin should be. Okay, so the bakery, in some cases, it should be about 10 to 15%. So with this recipe, or we could use a bill of materials, as we could see, uh, to make a batch of 1,000 muffins, it would call for 100 pounds of flour, right? 20 pounds of sugar, 50 pounds of butter, 20 pounds of eggs. And then you do your due diligence on what is the cost per pound of flour, the cost per pound of sugar, butter, and eggs. So here we see it's 92 cents a pound for flour, 2.50 a pound for sugar, 4.75 a pound for butter, and 2.25 a pound for eggs. Okay, so then in this column is the cost of each line item. So that 100 pounds of flour would be $92. The 20 pounds of butter at 2.50 a pound will be $50. And in this column here is the total cost of that recipe. So to make 1,000 muffins should be 42 and a half cents. Okay, so then in the bakery environment, labor, okay, I'm going to spell it this way. Labor should be about 25 cents on the dollar, or somewhere about 25%. So you have labor, we have overhead. Okay, so per unit labor should be about, again, 25% on the dollar. So we would have 0.25, and overhead should be about 15%. So you have 0.15, and the profits should be about 15% or 15 cents. And we see the total cost here is 97 cents. So if I was quoted $1, okay, if I was quoted $1 per muffin, the person came at 97 cents. That is pretty much within the cost structure. This is a total cost. Total cost. So the key is to do your due diligence and to understand each component. So if this supplier was to quote me 150, I know he's way off, man. I'm like, how do you get 150? Right? What is the cost? What are you paying for your raw materials? Could we break this down? Look, this is what I have. Show me what your costs are. Right? And a lot of times the suppliers they would divulge the information, and you'd be in a better position to negotiate. On the goal seek, you have any questions? Do you have any questions about the should cost model? Do you have any questions? Okay. Was it simple for you to follow? Okay. All right. So goal seek. Briefly, because we're pressed for time. Goal seek. Okay. So here it is. We have 3 items. Okay. And each one of these items is supposed to give a certain contribution to a savings target. Okay. So we see that an item A, we're able to meet the target, and this, we will assume that this is 100%. So $20,000 was our saving target. Item B, right, we realized $75,000, which again was 100% of our savings target. Now, how would we derive the difference, or how much should item C, what level of contribution should we get from item C? So a way to do this is to, trial and error. We put in, for example, let's put in $20,000. Right, you can see it's off. Let's put in $35,000. Right, we see it's off. Let's put in $75,000. We see it's off. So this is a very, very inefficient way to do it, especially if you're dealing with huge data sets. So in this case, I put in there's 3 items, for matters of simplicity. But if you're dealing with huge data sets, to do all of these trial and error, it could lead to error, and it's very, very, very inefficient. So we have goal seek. With goal seek, we would go to data. All right, we're going to go to over here to the what if analysis function, and we see goal seek. Okay, so the whole idea with this, and I'm just going to delete something here. Forgive me. Let's delete this out. The whole idea with goal seek is in this case, what contribution does item C need to bring to the table to realize the savings target of 200,000. So, sorry, we'll go to data, you go to the what if, you go to the goal seek. All right, so so to realize a total savings of 200,000, which would bring us on target. Okay. We would go here to the value of, the target is 200,000. Okay. Now, how the way this works is that what type of change, remember I was doing some manual changes, right? So how could Excel automate the type of change or the degree of change that we need to have in cell C to realize that target? Okay. So in this case, we would go to C, right? Right. So the idea is what degree of change in an automated way that we'll have to realize in cell C to meet that savings target. So again, the savings target here to the value of 200,000 by changing cell C. Okay. And sorry. So I'm doing the computation, right? Okay. So we need to realize $105,000. Okay. So again, we press for time, but it's okay. I want to make sure you all learn this well. All right. So we go into data. We go into the what if function. We click on goal seek. So the savings target, you put the target here, 200,000. And again, what degree of change do we have to realize in cell C to realize that savings target? Okay. So you see, I put the cursor in here, and sorry, cell C. We hit enter. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. Come out. Okay. Data. What if? Goal seek. All right. The value is, all right, 200,000. Make sure I'm not putting an extra zero. And we want to change, realize the change in, sorry, cell C. All right, you see it's computing, okay. And so it's $105,000. Practice, 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 everyone is the key. I hope you all enjoyed this webinar. I know there's a lot to cover, and I look forward to giving you all another world-class experience. And I hope this one was a great experience. And see you next time. And thank you for attending. Do we have any questions on the goal seek function or anything in particular? Okay, so we would cover, I would do extensive review on pivot tables. The next time we could focus on that effectively and in depth, and the what if function. So I'm making that note, the if function and pivot tables. Anything else in particular? Because you want to make sure that you have a great experience. And you enjoyed the class? Okay, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Oh, yes, I know it's a bit short. I know, especially when you deal with matters of Excel and so on. Okay, so the voice of our students is very important to our Next Level Purchasing Association. So I have next webinar, I'm going to go in depth on dedicate a lot of time to pivot tables and the if function. Again, thank you very much for attending today's webinar, and I hope you had a great experience. This is David Millington from Next Level Purchasing Association, and I see Abdullah. Could you hold on one second, Abdullah? Could you repeat that, Abdullah? Hello? Yes, so have a great day and have a happy new year. And see you in our next webinar. Thank you. Bye bye. Yes, Abdullah, I will make sure that we share those topics. Thank you. I'm happy you all enjoyed it. Bye bye. A bit short, but uh, next time we perhaps will focus on a fewer topics, so this way it could be a little more impactful. Thank you very much and have a great day, students. Bye bye.